Hey guys, conservative brother here, back with another daily rant. We're going to talk about Diana Russini Joy Taylor effect and basically the black girl tragic, sports girl tragic combo edition. A lot to discuss here. And, obviously I've done previous, those guys have been following the channel, I've done previous black girl tragic, editions and series. So I'll be bringing that back soon. But for now, we do got to talk about this situation that a lot of people have been calling out. A lot of maybe one of the worst open secrets going on. The whole Diana Russini getting caught with the photos with, Mike Vrabel of the New England Patriots. So I'm not going to kind of harp on a lot of the details and things that a lot of people have been kind of already talking about and covering. I just want to provide more of a macro picture. A lot of what also Jason Whitlock over at Fearless talks about. The fact that, once again, unfortunately, this is a situation where, once again, unfortunately, this casts a light on all female reporters. And I'm not going to be here to say that all female reporters do this type of stuff or do what they got to do to get access. And unfortunately, it does paint a lot of sports journalists, a lot of female sideline reporters and whatnot in a bad light. Because now this always comes up to where they're thinking, oh, man, did this person really get here for merit? Or did they get here by doing what they had to do with what they got? So Diana Russini, just from the years of her getting all the clips of her disrespecting her husband and, hey, I'm a MILF and all this sort of stuff. It isn't a surprise. There was nobody that came out and said, oh, Joy Taylor, except for simping Dan Le Batard. Le Batard, who had no problem bashing a Sage Steele or Michelle Latoya because he didn't agree with them politically. Now he's the one caping up hard for Diana Russini. But we all see past it. And also with this whole Diana Russini, I think on Jason Whitlock and Steve Kim's show, they did a good point on bringing it up. Once again, this puts a stain on a lot of the legit female sports journalists that built it the right way, that have merit, that never went and played the casting couch or whatnot. So I want to give an honorable shout out. I think Dre Baldwin, Steve Kim, and Jason Whitlock mentioned Jackie McMullen. Also Sally Jenkins. In addition, Christine Brennan. And then also Ramona Shelburne. So they gave them flowers. These are women that have been in the game 20, 30 years. And there's a many among them who, once again, didn't stoop, from at least what we know, to this level. And I think Jason also brought up a good point on how when you put some women or just anybody, anyone of a certain demographic in certain positions where they aren't qualified, where they're a DEI hire, whether there's a black guy or a white girl, they will, in terms of survival, they will resort to cutting certain corners, bending certain ethics to get what they need out of the job because they don't have the merit and the skill set to sustain where they're at. So this is kind of where we're at with both Joy Taylor, Diana Russini, and then once again with Joy Taylor. She was the brother of a football player, cut her teeth on local Miami, I think it was local Florida station. The next thing you know, she ends up a few years later getting a spot at Fox Sports. And no one's going to correlate the fact that she went from hosting a local sports radio show in Florida for a few years to somehow landing at Fox Sports, has a brother in the NFL, ends up having a show right next to, Jason Whitlock and it's basically she had this sort of circumvented rise. And two things can be true at the same time. I think somebody even sent me a video of her going like, well, first thing you do is I go to bed at 9 o'clock. This is Joy Taylor. I go to bed at 9 o'clock and I get up at 3:30. I go to bed early. I get up early. I go to bed at 9 p.m. I had to get used to that. Like in the bed at 9 p.m. Then I'm up at 3:30. So things can be true at the same time, Joy Taylor. You did that, but you also messed with a certain Fox Sports executive, Charles Dixon and whatnot. So two things can be true at the same time. I'm sure there are some things that she's done and legit things that she did to work hard to get to certain sectors. But then there were some other things that having certain gifts, if you will, afforded her even more opportunity, or to fast lane that. All right. So Diana Russini, something similar, where once again, we don't know the level of what some of these sports journalists do for access, and it goes the same way even for guys, even if it's not like a direct sexual advance. The problem with a lot of the sports media is that these reporters, they long for access. Where, okay, if I can get this access to this player, they invite me on this jet to this party, rubbing elbows, they promise me to get me an exclusive. I could look the other way, make a nice little puff piece, and I always get the exclusive because, there might be dirt that I find out about, or they tell me to bury, and I do it for the access. So while guys obviously have the same advantages that most women do, there's this systemic problem with sports media where it's become all about access, all about prestige. Same with regular media. They want to get invited to the fancy parties. They want to be rubbing elbows with the elites. It's a long form sign of basically the end of the blue dog Democrats, I think they call it yellow dog journalism, whatever it was. But really that whole peak was in the 70s. When it came to even local news, there's a lot of videos I've done segments on really the corporatization of media, local and state and national, really started in the 70s, going into the 80s, where once again, you got Sinclair, you got Script, you got all these different companies buying out each other to where if you look at supercuts on YouTube, they repeat the same scripts, local news, whether it's in Michigan, whether it's in Arizona, and Illinois, they all have the same script. And basically because the stations are bought out and they all want to be on one tone, one narrative, or you have the sports journalists or just journalists at an individual level, they want the access. They want to be able to sit there and say all the right things, get the pat on the head, and get their extra access and paycheck. So once again, Diana Russini and Joy Taylor are just part of a larger problem. And once again, I ain't mad at Joy Taylor as far as I get why she's pissed off. And now Diana Russini's in this same boat because they know good and well they're not the only ones doing it. They're just the ones that got caught. They're not the only ones doing it. They're just the ones that got caught. It's kind of back in middle school. You remember horse playing in the hallway or just doing something where, 4 or 5, 6, 7 of us, a whole group, raising hell. And the next thing you know, the teacher comes out of nowhere. They sick hall monitor on us. And I remember one time we were all running back to class from doing what we were supposed to do. And then I got pulled over. I got pulled away from, an 8th grade or 7th grade teacher. But I was like, no, but look, them over there, they were doing the same thing. But yeah, I caught you though. Yeah, but we were just all doing the same. Get what? I know, but I just caught you. So same thing. I know Joy Taylor and Diana Russini, they are steaming right now, and at the same time they're going, Mr. Jackson, so-and-so Sophia, she was popping it over by the locker room. She was getting it in before she went to 4th hour. She did it too. Yeah, but I caught you. So it's tragic. But once again, sports girl tragic, black girl tragic. But it is what it is. So with that in mind, once again, conservative brother here, I'm sure there'll be more to report on as time goes on. These are just my initial thoughts. I'm sure there'll be future developments that I'll continue to cover when I can. I try and mix in a little bit of this, a little bit more national, federal, a lot of the Trump, Erica Kirk stuff. Everybody's just in their panties about. And then I mix in some local stuff, local things going on in Detroit, Michigan. And then I'll mix in some, some sports stuff, some culture, sports culture, and other different things. Give you guys a little variety. All right, conservative brother, I will catch you guys next time. Remember, stay awake, not woke. And if somebody else doesn't say it, then we will. Oh, shout out. Make sure you guys follow Uncomfy Truths Political Talk. We got our next episode this Friday. We return weekly on Fridays, Friday evenings. And once again, if we don't say it, somebody else will. See you next time.